lied and used fake documents to obtain the interview with my mother. It is my view that the deceitful way the interview was obtained substantially influenced what my mother said. The interview was a major contribution to making my parents' relationship worse and has since hurt countless others.
Inside the hidden halls of Kensington Palace, a moment erupted nobody saw coming, a moment nobody could soften, a moment that would reverberate across the globe like a shockwave. Prince William's verdict hit so hard, so bluntly, it shattered the usual veil of royal diplomacy and landed like a thunderclap across generations. Sources report Meghan was blindsided by the timing, the wording, and the absolute finality of it all. Phones rang endlessly, doors slammed closed, and a hush fell over every corridor as the palace itself seemed to hold its breath. Emotions surged through the carefully constructed silence. So why did the future king choose to strike with such brutal clarity? And why did it happen precisely when it did? Today, we pull back the curtain to reveal the decisions, the fallout, and the cascading consequences that left Meghan in tears, exposed to the world in a way few could have predicted. At 7:48 a.m. on December 2nd, Kensington Palace delivered the official Prince William statement. And for those few unforgettable minutes, time itself seemed to stop. From the frantic streets of London to the sunlit suburbs of California, from the bustling newsrooms to quiet living rooms, people froze to absorb the magnitude of what had just occurred. For decades, the monarchy had relied on careful diplomacy, polished words, and meticulously choreographed appearances. But this statement was different, sharp, absolute, unyielding. It wasn't negotiable. It wasn't vague. It left no room for interpretation. The door to uncertainty slammed shut forever. A new reality was born, one that would impact every member of the royal family and, in countless ways, the future of the monarchy itself. William's leadership radiated from every word, every calculated pause, every carefully measured inflection in his voice. It was a masterclass in strategic thinking, legal precision, and personal resolve. Every step leading to this moment had been weighed against the weight of history, the expectations of the public, and the heavy responsibilities of leadership. In a world where hesitation could create chaos and silence was often mistaken for weakness, William acted with precision, leaving no doubts, no ambiguity, no escape hatch for misinterpretation. Though the decision carried unavoidable emotional pain, it also carved boundaries essential to protecting the monarchy and the millions who relied on its stability. The statement wasn't just a message, it was a display of character, a glimpse into the mind of a leader who understood that sometimes the hardest decisions are the ones that define history. There was no attempt to cushion the blow with vague promises or conditional phrasing. No for now. No, at this time. What replaced ambiguity was crystal clear permanence, a recognition that some choices aren't about comfort, they're about survival, about long-term stability. One unwavering act had shaped history. The reaction was instantaneous. News channels paused their usual programming, giving full coverage to the statement. Social media exploded as people dissected every word, every pause, every subtle inflection. Analysts scrambled to interpret the implications, while commentators accustomed to cautious speculation found themselves confronting a reality far more direct than anything the monarchy had offered in decades. Experts called it unprecedented. Shockwaves rippled through homes, offices, and classrooms alike. The path to this historic moment hadn't been easy for William. Behind closed doors, long nights of reflection, legal reviews, and consultations with advisors familiar with the delicate balance of family, duty, and national interest had taken their toll. He had watched as emotional entanglements, media narratives, and public campaigns threatened to erode years of painstaking effort. Diplomacy, once a tool for smoothing conflicts, had become a liability. Every delay, every unspoken word, risked weakening the institution he was tasked to protect. Pain was inevitable, but so was protection. Boundaries were drawn, clarity established. The monarchy would endure challenges without being paralyzed by uncertainty. Was this just a verdict, or something far more extraordinary? For a few rare, suspended minutes, the world stopped. Television screens flickered from London to Los Angeles. Offices, cafes, and living rooms were held captive by silence. Sports talk shows and daily news updates were forgotten. People everywhere were witnessing history unfold, raw, immediate, and undeniable. At the heart of this unprecedented moment was William, not as the distant, polished royal the world had grown accustomed to, but as a decisive, human, commanding presence. His words carried weight. Every sentence, every pause, every glance had purpose. There was no hedging, no polite diplomacy, no indirect phrasing. What was being delivered wasn't news. It was a declaration. Social media fragmented his statement into countless clips shared thousands of times in minutes. Analysts and commentators, usually comfortable speculating in cautious tones, were forced to confront the unmistakable reality. The rules of the monarchy had shifted. Permanence replaced ambiguity. Conditional language, the sort designed to leave room for interpretation, had vanished entirely. William wasn't merely addressing the public. He was defining the monarchy's future from London streets to the sprawling cities of the United States. There was no anger, no theatrics, no attempt to dominate. Instead, there was calm authority. Every inflection, every pause, every look had been calibrated to convey clarity and resolve. Observers felt something rare. A royal voice that was both human and absolute, personal, yet institutionally transformative. Even in the US, where royal affairs are filtered through a unique cultural lens, the statement was dissected intensely. Experts agreed, this wasn't news. It was a redefinition of leadership itself. A monarchy that once relied on tradition, ceremony, and cautious diplomacy now projected direct, decisive, unshakable authority. It was no longer a dialogue between the crown and the public. It was a declaration of purpose. Consensus or permission was no longer required. The monarchy's future had been firmly established. Longtime royal watchers admitted surprise, the absence of hesitation, the lack of conditional phrasing, the sheer decisiveness, remarkable. The monarchy had been silent for decades, quietly waiting, only to suddenly find its voice. And that voice was sharp, precise, undeniable. This was a moment that could not be ignored, misinterpreted, or delayed. It demanded attention, demanded recognition, demanded acknowledgement. The monarchy, in its modern form, had stepped into a new reality for ordinary people. The effect was immediate and palpable. Millions watched, captivated by the rare chance to witness history unfold in real time. Conversations paused in homes, offices, and public spaces. Even those previously indifferent to royal affairs were caught up in the gravity of the moment. It felt irreversible, as though the world had collectively turned a page in a story centuries in the making. What drove a meticulous planner like William to act so decisively? The spark behind his moment of clarity was subtle, almost imperceptible, emerging quietly during autumn 2024. The shift wasn't sudden like a storm or earthquake. It was like leaves slowly changing colour before falling. Tension thickened the air. Even the most careful observers could sense it. The old ways of keeping peace, of orchestrating polite gestures, of relying on measured smiles, were no longer enough. Diplomacy, once a reliable tool to smooth over disagreements, had begun to fail. Words alone no longer carried the power they once did. For William, the weight of this moment was enormous. The stakes were monumental, and the world was watching. Every choice William made carried consequences heavier than any crown could bear. These were not merely personal decisions. They would shape the monarchy, define the public's trust, and leave a lasting imprint for generations yet unborn. This was not a moment to act on impulse or let fleeting anger dictate the path forward. No, it was the culmination of months of painstaking thought, reflection under sleepless nights, and the constant, gnawing awareness that history would judge him and the institution he had inherited. William understood that a single misstep, a poorly measured word, or a hesitation could send ripples across decades. The monarchy was no longer just a family. It was a symbol, a living emblem of tradition, responsibility, and national identity. Symbols demand careful preservation, often at a personal cost few could comprehend. In the months leading up to autumn 2024, he began noticing patterns, subtle yet unmistakable, that could not be ignored. The palace whispers, The media undercurrents and strategic maneuvering outside the walls revealed a reality he could no longer sidestep. He watched Catherine, his partner and co-guardian of the monarchy, dedicating herself tirelessly to building unity, earning respect, and protecting the dignity of the crown. She was patient, strategic, and unyielding in her effort to stabilize relationships and uphold the royal image behind the scenes. Yet, even as she worked, William observed forces actively undermining her efforts. Stories appeared, disappeared, and reappeared with precise intent, each narrative designed to provoke doubt, create tension, and challenge authority. Nothing was random. Everything was orchestrated with precision. The attacks were both relentless and invisible, slipping through the cracks of daily palace life, amplified by media cycles and public speculation. Silence could no longer serve as protection. Waiting for problems to resolve themselves or hoping goodwill would prevail was a luxury the monarchy could no longer afford. Each passing day without action only intensified the pressure, exposing vulnerabilities and threatening the stability of both family and institution. William knew the stakes. These weren't just personal battles, they were threats to the legacy and continuity of the monarchy itself. With every report, every briefing, every observed pattern, William internalized a truth. The decisions he made now would define not only the present, but the monarchy's future. There was no room for hesitation. Responsibility and consequence intertwined, preparing him for the decisive path ahead. The moment demanded something extraordinary, a declaration that would be public, personal, and irrevocable. Unlike the subtle, incremental maneuvers of the past, this action would leave no room for misinterpretation. Critics could not twist it. Detractors could not dilute it. Its meaning would be absolute. Even the timing of this monumental decision carried symbolism. Autumn 2024, a season of endings, transitions, and reflection, mirrored the gravity of the moment. Leaves fell, days shortened. Nature signaled change in a rhythm only the observant could feel. Acting during this period was not simply practical, it was poetic. It aligned the immense personal weight of responsibility with the natural flow of life itself, a reminder that meaningful change, though painful, is both inevitable and necessary. Behind palace doors, William's reflections were intense, deeply personal, and relentless. He considered not only the immediate effects of his actions, but the enduring narrative that would define his reign. What would historians write decades from now? How would the public perceive the monarchy in years to come? Could silence or hesitation ever be justified when clarity, moral authority, and decisiveness were required? Every word, every gesture, every pause could either fortify centuries of legacy or weaken them irreparably. Yet the human side of the decision could not be ignored. Family loyalty, personal well-being, and emotional bonds intertwined with public duty in a delicate dance. William understood that his declaration would carry emotional consequences. It would wound some, confuse others, and shock the wider world. Postponing it would prolong instability and uncertainty. True courage, he realized, demanded confronting reality head-on, even when it was uncomfortable, even when it was painful, and William was ready to face it. The pressures he faced extended far beyond the palace walls. Strategic, public, and sometimes dangerous forces loomed. Every decision required vigilance, for the survival and credibility of the monarchy itself depended on careful calculation. Private emotions collided with public duty, and every action, every hesitation was dissected by millions of eyes worldwide. The cost of inaction could be catastrophic, not just disappointment, but the potential destabilization of an institution built over centuries. King Charles, while focused on his own recovery and public image, offered guidance steeped in both warmth and expectation. William observed closely as his father navigated the delicate balance of loyalty to family and duty to the institution. The lesson was clear: leadership is never about comfort or avoidance. It requires confronting difficult truths with courage and decisiveness that few outsiders can understand. Security briefings revealed threats specifically targeting Catherine, psychological attacks, targeted misinformation campaigns, even extremist activity traced to organised groups. The stakes extended far beyond London, attracting diplomatic attention in capitals like Washington and Ottawa. Instability in one of the world's most recognised institutions could ripple globally, influencing international trust and alliances. For William, the stakes could not have been higher. The cost of hesitation was far too great to ignore. Amid the storm, Princess Anne's guidance cut through the chaos. Her message was simple, unyielding. The needs of the monarchy must outweigh destabilizing forces. Personal feelings, however intense, could never compromise duty. Her words became a moral compass for William, emphasizing that leadership is rarely comfortable. It is about foresight, courage, and protecting something far greater than oneself. As weeks passed, the threats became undeniable. Reputation manipulations, media distortions, and intentional destabilization aimed to erode trust both at home and abroad. Public confidence, already fragile, hung by a thread. Silence, patience, or delay were no longer options. The moment demanded clarity, courage, and decisive action. William understood fully. This was not merely a reaction, it was a calculated step to secure the future of the monarchy, reinforce stability, and ensure that the institution he loved would endure for generations. Every choice he faced was a high-stakes calculation. Every word carried weight, every gesture had meaning. The palace was no longer just a home, it was the command centre for history in motion. William also understood that action was not simply a response to immediate threats. It was more than just a statement. It was a declaration of values, responsibility, and the legacy that Prince William would carry forward. Every decision he considered was measured against long-term consequences, never short-term satisfaction. The choices he faced were delicate, demanding a precision that balanced firmness with fairness, courage with diplomacy. Any failure to act could be interpreted as weakness, potentially emboldening those who sought to undermine not only Catherine, his partner and co-guardian of the monarchy, but the very institution itself. This was a moment where personal conviction collided with public duty in ways few could ever fully understand. Conversely, decisive and measured action held the power to preserve the integrity of the monarchy. It could restore and reinforce public confidence while demonstrating that leadership was not about popularity or approval. It was about protecting principles under intense scrutiny. The weight of these responsibilities, combined with the ties of personal loyalty and deep family love, created a moment of unprecedented gravity. Every choice carried echoes far beyond the immediate moment, with consequences that could resonate for decades, shaping the perception of an institution that had endured centuries of history. William had to navigate a labyrinth of internal family dynamics, global expectations, and public scrutiny that few could even imagine. Every action, or even inaction, carried profound implications. Diplomacy, personal discretion, and calculated timing were crucial. Every gesture could influence not only the future of the monarchy, but also international perceptions, diplomatic relations, and the stability of a centuries-old institution. Nothing could be left to chance. The clarity he needed was not sudden. It was hard-won, forged through hours of reflection, strategic counsel, and careful observation of both threats and opportunities. In the autumn of 2024, William and his team undertook a comprehensive legal and diplomatic review of the circumstances surrounding the monarchy. This was no ordinary checklist or routine analysis. Every angle, every potential ripple of consequence was dissected and examined in painstaking detail. They understood that even minor ambiguity could now pose serious risks, not just to the rules and traditions of the monarchy, but to its overall stability and security. A misstep, a misinterpreted statement, or an unclear boundary could undermine centuries of careful institution building. Even the smallest misunderstanding, they realized, could shake confidence not only in the United Kingdom, but globally. Allies and international partners were watching, waiting for signals of strength, clarity, and decisive governance. For decades, the monarchy had been a symbol of stability, a constant amid the unpredictable currents of global politics. But the faint signs of internal turmoil were now visible. Public confidence, once quietly steadfast, was beginning to show cracks. Tension behind palace walls seeped into public perception. Media reports hinted at disagreements, and whispers of uncertainty began to circulate. In times like these, global partners demanded leadership, trustworthiness, and unmistakable stability. Princess Anne, long respected for her sharp insight and pragmatic approach, weighed in strongly during these assessments. She emphasized the urgent need to formalize boundaries. Endless negotiations, she warned, would only worsen matters when rules remained vague or unwritten. Subjective interpretation, she cautioned, could lead to disputes spiraling out of control, transforming minor conflicts into full-scale crises. Silence was no longer a neutral choice. Every pause, every hesitation carried the risk of being perceived as weakness. Clarity was not optional, it was essential. For William, this was no decision guided by hope or wishful thinking. Hope might have sufficed in earlier years. Silence might once have shielded against conflict. But by 2024, neither would protect the monarchy. The situation demanded deliberate action, precise communication, and unambiguous decisions. Any less would risk undermining the institution that he and his predecessors had devoted their lives to preserving. Legal experts highlighted the constitutional framework, emphasizing that even a minor misstep could trigger complex challenges, from succession questions to disputes over royal prerogatives. Diplomatic advisors added that uncertainty could weaken alliances painstakingly built over decades. Even subtle signs of instability could ripple across nations, affecting treaties, negotiations, and the trust essential for international cooperation. The stakes were no longer just domestic, they were global. Timing, too, was critical. The public watches not only what leaders do, but how swiftly and decisively they act. Hesitation could be interpreted as indecision. Indecision, in turn, could erode faith in an institution that, once doubted, would be difficult to restore. Every move had to signal authority, responsibility, and foresight. The monarchy could no longer rely solely on tradition. It required a clear, modern demonstration of vision and leadership. So, what step did the Royal Council take to address these mounting pressures? On December 1st, a small but highly strategic council convened at Windsor. This was no casual family gathering or ceremonial discussion. It was a meticulously planned session designed to tackle one of the most serious challenges the monarchy had faced in decades. Every voice, every opinion, every suggestion was weighed with care. The council's deliberations would directly shape the public declaration that followed. Tensions had been simmering for years. Not just minor disagreements, but subtle fractures that had slowly formed over time, cracks that threatened to widen if left unaddressed. For decades, the royal family had presented a polished image of unity, of tradition maintained, of duty performed without complaint. Yet behind the walls of the palace, the reality was far more complicated. Hidden conflicts, quiet resentments, and differing perspectives had accumulated like pressure in a sealed chamber. It had become clear that leaving these matters unresolved was no longer a matter of choice. It was dangerous. The stakes were too high, and the consequences could reverberate for generations. The purpose of this council was unprecedented in its gravity. Its mandate was to craft a clear and decisive path forward, one that would protect not only the family's unity, but also the credibility, stability, and authority of the monarchy itself. Every element of the council's work was deliberate. Every decision would carry weight far beyond the walls of Windsor, echoing in living rooms across the United Kingdom, across the Commonwealth, and around the world. Prince William began the meeting with the quiet authority of someone who understood the magnitude of the moment. He presented a carefully prepared statement, each word painstakingly chosen, each phrase weighed for its potential impact. This was no ordinary family discussion. This was a turning point. A moment that would define the future of the monarchy and the family he was charged with protecting. William understood that vagueness or compromise could be dangerous. Half measures could create confusion, invite speculation, and weaken both the bonds of family and the public perception of the institution. The statement he presented was intended to be firm, decisive, and permanent. Every syllable had a purpose. Every pause was calculated, and the tone conveyed authority without aggression. Seated beside him, King Charles carried the visible weight of decades of responsibility. The sorrow in his expression was undeniable, a mixture of a father's concern and a sovereign's awareness of the gravity of the situation. Charles had devoted his life to balancing personal loyalty with public duty, and now he watched as his son took steps that were as emotionally taxing as they were strategically necessary. His eyes, lined with years of experience, reflected the difficulty of reconciling love for his children with the demands of the institution he had spent his life serving. Every point William made was carefully considered by the king, every nuance absorbed, every implication weighed. The stakes were immense. Every misstep could ripple through centuries of tradition, altering the monarchy's place in a modern world that increasingly demanded both transparency and decisiveness. Princess Anne, with her sharp insight and pragmatic approach, reminded the council that emotions, however sincere, could not dictate the outcome. She cited historical precedents where hesitation or compromise had weakened even the strongest institutions, demonstrating that clarity and decisiveness were not merely practical, they were essential. Her calm, firm voice became a guiding force in the discussion, anchoring the council's deliberations in a sense of long-term responsibility rather than temporary sentiment. Catherine, who had often played a role of quiet support and strategic counsel, offered her perspective with a balance of empathy and pragmatism. She acknowledged the deep emotional currents running through the room, but stressed that decisions could not ignore the practical realities facing the monarchy. Her insight was invaluable, helping ensure that the council's choices would reflect both human compassion and institutional foresight. Catherine's presence reminded everyone that clarity could be achieved without harshness, that firmness could coexist with fairness, and that protection of the family did not have to come at the cost of empathy. For hours, the council debated every possible outcome. Options were weighed, risks assessed, and potential consequences explored in painstaking detail. Half measures, vague statements, and delayed responses were considered and systematically rejected. William argued passionately that ambiguity had become too dangerous to tolerate. Leaving issues unresolved invited misinterpretation, fueled media speculation, and allowed internal tensions to grow unchecked. Every day of indecision, he emphasized, carried the risk of undermining both the cohesion of the family and the credibility of the monarchy. It was a reality that every council member, seasoned by years of service and insight, could not ignore. As discussions continued, the council collectively recognized that decisive action was the only viable path. A clear and permanent resolution was necessary, not as a punitive measure, but as a protective one. The aim was to shield both the family and the monarchy from ongoing uncertainty and stress. This was about establishing stability in a time of instability, clarity in a time of confusion, and resilience in the face of mounting pressure. The council understood that by taking action, they could create a foundation that would allow the monarchy to endure while also respecting the personal realities of those involved. The decision that emerged was groundbreaking, both in its scope and its implications. A unanimous conclusion was reached. A clear, decisive, and permanent separation was required. This was not a choice made lightly. It was not driven by emotion, spite, or public pressure. It was a measured, calculated step, one that balanced the needs of the institution with the human realities of the family. Every council member recognized the difficulty of the decision, but also its necessity. The moment demanded courage, foresight, and a willingness to face discomfort head-on, a combination of qualities that William had demonstrated throughout his life. In making this decision, the council also recognized the broader implications. This was not just about a single family or a single moment in time. The action would set a precedent, define the public's understanding of the monarchy's boundaries, and reinforce the principle that clarity and decisiveness were essential to leadership. It was a statement to the world that the monarchy was not only aware of its vulnerabilities, but capable of taking steps to address them in a way that was both strategic and humane. The process was meticulous. Legal and diplomatic considerations were integrated into every discussion, ensuring that the Council's decision would withstand scrutiny at home and abroad. Experts in constitutional law confirmed that the chosen path aligned with the framework of the United Kingdom, while diplomatic advisors assessed potential repercussions for international relations. The Council's deliberations reflected a rare combination of foresight, prudence, and courage. Every possible scenario was considered, and every potential fallout was weighed with careful attention to both immediate and long-term consequences. Beyond legalities and diplomacy, the human dimension remained central. The Council understood that the decision would carry emotional weight, that it would be difficult for some and painful for others. Yet they also recognized that postponing action would exacerbate tensions, leaving uncertainty to fester and potentially causing more harm in the long term. The choice, though challenging, represented the only viable path to sustainable stability and protection for all involved. William's leadership throughout the Council was remarkable. He balanced empathy with authority, personal feeling with public duty, and compassion with clarity. Every word he spoke, every argument he presented, reinforced the idea that leadership required courage as much as wisdom. It required a willingness to confront reality, no matter how uncomfortable, and to make decisions that served both the family and the institution. His conduct exemplified the principles he had long championed: accountability, clarity, and an unwavering commitment to duty. By the time the Council concluded, a clear path had been established. The monarchy would move forward with a firm, permanent separation that protected its integrity, its credibility, and its future. The family, while affected by the decision, would have a framework within which to rebuild trust, redefine relationships, and preserve both private and public harmony. The decision represented not an ending, but a careful recalibration, a strategic realignment designed to ensure that the monarchy could endure and thrive amid the challenges of the modern world. In the aftermath, the Council's work was recognized as a historic moment of leadership. It demonstrated that the monarchy, while steeped in tradition, was capable of decisive action when circumstances demanded. It reaffirmed the principle that clarity and integrity are essential to sustaining institutions, and that difficult choices, when made thoughtfully and compassionately, can protect both family and legacy. So, what do you think about Prince William's final verdict? The decision that reportedly brought Meghan to tears. Was it a necessary act of leadership, a demonstration of duty above personal feelings, or a difficult but unavoidable step to protect an institution centuries in the making? Share your insights in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective on this pivotal moment in royal history. And for more in-depth analysis, behind-the-scenes insights, and coverage of every historic development, make sure to like this video, leave a thoughtful comment, and subscribe to stay connected. You won't want to miss the unfolding story of the monarchy as it navigates this new era. History is happening now, and you can follow it with us.